Hello. Welcome to the party.
Hello. Good morning from Mount Hood.
Oh my gosh, good afternoon from the Midwest United States.
And good evening from Plymouth in the UK.
We are a global coven showing up here this morning or this afternoon or this evening to talk to you about Women of the Wyrd, and we're super juiced to be doing it.
Oh yeah. I'm so excited for this. So we're in the flow. So we're kind of just gonna, so if you have questions or as you go, because I know you've probably been seeing a little bit of posts here and there, please feel free to put them in there.
Her name showed up today.
Her name, Sarah, your name is showing up.
That never happens.
That's never happened.
Woohoo!
So we were here to discuss the Women of the Wyrd, who we are, why we are, what we are, when we are,
and where.
And where we are, all the W's. So months ago now.
Many moons.
Many moons, many lives. Kayleigh just kind of one day was like, we need this womb healing thing. Tell Wyld.
Wyld needs to do a womb thing.
I said, all right, I'll go tell her. And then I went, Wyld, you need to do a womb thing. And she was like, yeah, you're right. And then Wyld came back and said, y'all want to do a womb thing? She didn't say all, though, of course. But in my interpretation of the story. And I mean, that's honestly how Women of the Wyrd was born. We sat together. And it is now, there's a cardinal. Can you see the cardinal?
I can see it.
Yeah. Wow.
A beautiful thing. So here we are in the right space at the right time. So let's talk about it. Who would like to begin? I mean, I can talk all day long. Let's be real.
Hello, Abuelita.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Well, I could begin with the original download.
Yes, please. Yeah. I love that.
So as these beautiful goddesses approached me and said, you need to do a womb healing, I went into meditation, like, okay, this feels true. What wants to come through? And the download that arrived was that it was going to be 3, because goddesses work in 3s. That is the number, right? And I had this vision of moving through the 3 gateways of the female body and how that intersects and correlates with the healing process for female-bodied humans. So the picture were these 3 gateways: the vulva, the cervix, and then the bridge of the womb to the heart. And this is like the direct core, the map that can take any woman from feeling powerless into feeling empowered. It is literally a path of liberation for women to be able to heal mind, body, heart, and soul. And by moving through this map, moving through this channel from the vulva, through the cervix, into the womb, and connecting to our heart space, we are able to release the trauma from our bodies. We're able to release the emotional stories from our brains. And we're able to fully step into life from this heart-centered space where we feel empowered and alive and juicy and fearless. And so that map came through, and I was really excited about it, wrote it all out and sent it back to these beauties. And we were all like, yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to do. So we began to create a rhythm for it. And we each walked this path with one another. And I can tell you for myself, and I think we're all going to share, that it has been absolutely life-changing to walk this map and liberate ourselves from this quantum overlay from our culture that has kept us oppressed in a female body instead of able to access our full psycho-spiritual grandness. So that was the original download. So where shall we move to from there, ladies?
Well, we got together.
Yep.
And we created we each took a part that was called to us. So Kayleigh was really called to the shadow dowsing. Wyld was really called to the integration weaver, and I was really called to the light recalibrator. Mm-hmm. So we all were really called to even a beginning, a middle, and a rebirth, if you will. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about what those are and what that means, and what the process is like, because it's like nothing we've ever experienced, and to have the honor to be able to offer this to others it's just such important work. So I don't know, Kayleigh, do you want to talk about why and how the shadow dowsing came to be?
Well, for me, in my work anyway, it's about shadow work. So it's really about delving into something happens to us. We feel triggered in some way. And for me, it's ignoring that it's there isn't an option necessarily. It's about taking it back, really getting to the root. And when you get to the root, then we can work out, okay, this is where it came from. And we can start to heal and start to work on where it really began and then spiral its way outwards. So for me, we're trying to find that original wound. If we know what the wound is, then we can start moving through it, start working through it, because all healing starts. You can't move forward until you know where you really are. And most of my work is about that. It's about finding what the root is so that we can then take ownership for our healing as we move forward. Once we know what it is, we can go, yes, I claim that. And yes, I'm now going to yes, it was done to me, but it's my job to fix that. And that's really where my part comes in, which is finding what that wound is, where it comes from, and where we can start to make moves towards how we heal that internally and externally. It features both within the session that I do. It can open up anything. I mean, I've done that reading 5 times, and we started with me and Allison, and we deconstructed quite rapidly. Wyld was a bit more empowered by the reading, but again, it does bring up triggers. There's a reason it's going to be a triggering session, because we're getting to the deep trauma that's within in our sacred temple, our own sacred space, our most precious creative space. So to be in that place, it's going to be very triggering. It's going to be deep. We're conditioned from such a young age to be a certain way or act a certain way, especially as women. So yeah, it was really, it unravels you, but in a way that you have to deconstruct in order to rebuild back up. There's an element of choosing to take this work, to do this work, to take ownership and do it. So by having that empowered approach to it, it's a little less daunting. And actually, for me, it's been incredible. The trigger keeps coming up, but I react differently to it. Even today, it's come up for me. So, yeah, I just really found that the shadow was my part, and I'm really good at starting a journey, and I have ADHD. So I'm not very good at ends. So I'm best at the beginning when I'm most productive. That's not to say that support all the way through won't be. It's just for my part, I'm better off at the beginning of a process. I'm most productive at that part. It takes a lot more effort to be the finality of anything. So, yeah, for me, it was just vital. And I just felt that there was a women-centric energy that needed healing right now. So I just went, hey, Wyld, I feel like Wyld should do this thing. So, and then Wyld does this beautiful move into the middle where she takes where I've gone and she goes, right, we're going to readjust it. So Wyld can explain what she does.
Thank you, Kayleigh. I really love how you mentioned the root, finding the root of those shadows, and how your piece is related to the vulva and really the root chakra of the energy system. Like, that shadow dowsing is such an important piece, like that entryway into the cave. And for those of you who are here or watching the replay, recognize that as you're moving through that triggering space, that traumatic space, you're also being held the entire time. This program that we've developed is unlike anything any of us have ever done. It comes with basically your own private connection to one of the three of us through a system called Voxer, where you get to text or voicemail or send pictures with one of us literally for 3 moon cycles, an entire 3 months. So whatever comes up, whenever you feel that trigger, you actually get to process it in real time with someone. It's pretty magical. Like, I haven't experienced much like this before. So just to reiterate with that shadow piece, it can feel big, and it is big, but you are so supported the entire time. It's not something that you're doing alone. And so after you sit with Kayleigh and you get that robust experience of really knowing yourself, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Kayleigh, but I felt like your session was this deep dive into self-intimacy, just like really getting honest with myself about what it was that I've been resisting.
Yeah.
What it was that I've actually been reacting to rather than being responsible for. And so after you get that data, you get that information, then you sit with that for a moon cycle. We have several circles for you to share, to receive support. Meditations are built in for the processing of that. And then you come to the second month with me, and I am the integration weaver. And this represents in the body the cervix, the place where the outside meets the inside. So it is like those really deep inner boundaries, and learning yourself, learning how to discern, what do I let in? What do I say no to? Who am I? Now that I'm really fully honest with myself and my shadow, now that I've let my deepest wounds be witnessed and I can release them from shame, I can release myself from feeling guilty or feeling as though I did something wrong, and I can just allow those things to be a story that no longer defines my life, but instead informs my life and allows me to move forward with greater care and compassion for myself and for other people. So that really feels like my job is to help the monkey mind take all of those pieces and weave them back into a story that is actually wholesome and holistic and true. It's truly a session of truth transmission where we're just allowing you to be a whole, healthy human that isn't seeking perfection anymore or trying to hide what has occurred to your body or what has occurred from your family of origin. Just that true integration period that I think a lot of us don't make time or space for. We say, oh, I've got all those wounds, let's pack them away in the closet. Or if we're really lucky, maybe we've had some talk therapy and we've at least gotten some of it out of our brains. But for the most part, we kind of keep it hidden. And then we wonder why we're exploding in anger or having fits of tears over something that seems pretty small or insignificant. You know, these triggers that just keep occurring over and over again. We usually see them come up in our intimate relationships or with a particular person in our work environment that might remind us of a parent or something like that. And so, yeah, just allowing, once those shadows have come up, to find a home where they don't get to drive the car of your life anymore. So I love being in the middle because I love getting to support people in making that story make sense up here so that they can then follow the map to Sister Allison, where 1 month later, after having more share circles and more support, they get to enter into a light-filled space of rebirthing.
Yeah.
So I'll let Allison describe her session.
Yeah. So my session is really fun and ceremonial. So I love parties. I love to celebrate. I love to
Your pinky.
I just love it. And I love witnessing the work. And so it made I was just immediately called to be part of the rebirthing ceremony. I love doing deep work. I love like witnessing someone's growth is just like so beautiful to me. It's its own dance, it's its own existence. And quite honestly, for me, there's nothing better in life than being on the path and walking alongside with someone as they bloom, right? So the light recalibrate. Plus, I love encoding and embedding and reprogramming. I'm sure many of you have seen me work with Tina and with our tethering and doing all of that. So to be able to take an opportunity to take a piece of that and be able to step into the sacred space, into the void of the divine creatrix of one's womb space, and be in that cosmic egg and take everything that has been experienced and learned and shared and to program that into the body, into the emotional, into the mental, even into the physical. I've come to find through my own personal journey through this that the programming really helped unwind a lot of physical trauma that I held in my body that I didn't even know was happening, that was associated with my womb wounds. And to be able to be a witness to the energetic shift in real time in this sacred ceremony is like everything for me, because it's just such a moment of everything that I see inside someone, they now see themselves. And that to me is just the most beautiful, joyous thing. And there have been, the three of us have gone through that, and to support each ceremony is its own special, unique way, and to just be open to the flow of that in the true divine feminine. And for me, that is one of my callings, is to hold that container and that space for the divine feminine and be there, almost as a birth doula, and just helping one go through that, assisting with their birth and their rebirth of themselves. It's also life-changing for me too. But there's just nothing better than, and as Kayleigh was saying, like, the triggers come up, but we don't react the same way. It doesn't cause us complete breakdowns, or, yeah, we do go through the emotions, but we're like, I know this, and, I've worked through this, and here it comes up again. And, and then after a while, the universe just goes, oh, okay. Yep, you've shown me. Your brain gets to data. Yep. Mm-hmm. And you're in your heart space, in your womb space, right? They're connected. And you're saying, like, with the boundaries, and, I'm okay, I'm worthy, I'm, whatever it is that is needed at that time for that wound to completely heal from the inside out, and the glow just goes. And honestly, like, physically, my skin got better. My hair, I noticed, like, I used to get like psoriasis on the back of my neck, like up top here. That's gone. I've had that my whole life. Right? And for me, and that's just like a small physical thing, as being a woman and saying, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's completely connected. And that was really like my mind just went. So to be able to offer the opportunity for others is like, it's just the best.
It's pretty magical, really. And what I'm hearing you describe, Allison, is just really becoming response-able for your life. Like, the shit keeps happening. Life keeps happening. We're going to get triggered. We're humans. People do stupid things that trigger us. Like, just because we're healing doesn't mean you step away from discomfort or having things that you don't prefer occur to you, right? But what I'm hearing in your language is like taking ownership of how you're going to behave, respond to each situation, and what frequency you're putting out and amplifying into the world, regardless of those triggers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
What I love so much about the series that is the support throughout it. The sharing circles. We're taking a small group each turn because it is really important for us to encourage a time to process and to have that high touch support. You know, when we set off to do this, I mean, Kayleigh was like, you want to do the vulva reading right now? And I was like, yeah, it sounds so great. We should do it right now.
You will be prepped before the readings, just so you know, you will be prepped. We're taking you through a whole ceremony to get you ready energetically for those readings, or for that session.
Why, right? Because we didn't really we knew in our hearts what we wanted, but we're really like setting up, ensuring that the steps are everyone is held, supported, knowing what's happening. Of course, total true style to me is like, yeah, let's do it and jump in. Chaos, totally love it. It was an expansive experience, to say the least. I mean, we came to the moment where I was triggered by Santa through my woman's wound.
There is more to that was a highlight, if you can call it a highlight. But yeah, that was.
I mean, the thread that weaves from the original womb, right? So my original womb wound is from women, because as a small child, I was big, and because of that, or who knows why, right? You know, as we work through all of this, things happened to me, like being raped as a small child, and women knowing about it and not doing anything and not protecting me, right? And so then we took that little seed, right, the center of the web, and then we followed it all the way to, well, Christmas with Santa, all the way through how I always preferred to be friends with boys instead of girls. In my teenage years, all of that, right? Also, my outbursts of anger and how I turned to drugs and alcohol, and how I turned off my own intuition because I decided, I was told it couldn't be trusted by seeing the representation from women telling me who I should be, how I should act, what I should do. I mean, it went into my adulthood, and how I really, then moved into the cultivation of creating my own circle of women, and what that was like, and spherically, and how I wanted to get into women's work, and why I started bartending. I mean, it really went like so deep, and then keep stepping, right? And then I went into Wyld session, and this is when I learned that the deck that she's used with me multiple times has not one but two great mystery cards.
Does it really? Oh my god.
I laughed so hard. Like, tears were coming out, because I mean, I was watching her set it all up and sitting through, and and Wyld and I have worked together for a long period of time, and I've had many sessions with her. So like I know the rhythm, right? I am like, I'm like, okay. And I was like, oh man, something really amazing just happened, because she went, huh. And I was like, you know, especially coming from Kayleigh's reading, where I was like, it's fine, everything's fine, it's great. I cried for 3 days, and it was so good, because that's what, as for me as a Aquarian sun, like that was like just so, emotions moved in me. And like I allowed that, and then I had these two beautiful people to hold that container for me while I was exploding like a volcano and everything around me was going crazy, right? So I stepped into Wyld completely expecting that it was going to be another shit show, let's be real, right? And then it wasn't. And it was tying in, just as Wyld was saying, putting the pieces together, the puzzle pieces from this, and having this whole month to go through and be supported and honored, right? And witnessed, and being like, you're still amazing. You're still okay. Like, still, like, I'm still me, right? Even though I'm deconstructing for me. And then just co-creating that space and walking through all of the pieces and having that great mystery come up. And really that ties to the fear of the unknown for me, of the trusting, right? Because my original trust was broken. And here it comes up. It was my like joy and my block. And I was like, this is crazy. I didn't even know this was possible. And then taking that and taking a whole nother cycle to sit with that and to experience it and to look around. And now I have these tools to like move through this and grow. And while I'm doing that, I'm sitting in like, okay, how am I going to program myself? Like, what does this mean? And all of that. And then having that come through, and then taking all of that knowledge and that experience and programming into my system, and then witnessing it all, like everything brightened up. Here we go. Here, I'm getting another download literally right now. They're like, "Ooh, you learned something." And sharing that and being able to share that experience, and then to supporting others. Like, I have a circle of women now that I trust with my life. And many of them are here right now, here supporting this, right? That are like supporting the work that I do and my journey. And this is all because of this series, like really like honoring these beautiful women who have been with me. Some of them have been with me. I mean, I've worked like Tina, girl, I'm calling you out. I worked with for a year, who has supported me all the way. You know, Lorna, like supporting me all the way. These women who wouldn't have happened had I not originally stepped in and said, it's time for me to honor my circle who are here. So that, I just wanted to really share that experience. I didn't realize it was going to go so deep, but you know how we roll. For that, but like, I'm so much more me. Like, I mean, it's healed ancient wounds from other women in my life who have come up. I mean, and I'm able to see it. Just my perception, right? It's crazy. I know I have like this, like, I can't like, so like to be able to bring my soul's heart to heart and use that and connect in that way so deeply. Like, I'm so excited to share this with others, because it's like nothing, you know, like it's so, as Wyld loves to say, juicy and delicious and just yummy, and all of these words that I don't use before. And now I'm like, putting on my lipstick and I'm like, juicy, like, here I go, you know, and like bringing that part of me, like you know, and it's like, and then I keep seeing all these other things healing, and I see it in my children too, and how my husband reacts to me, right? All because of this series. Like, I'm just so excited to be a part of this and to be able to offer it. And because I know for me, like, it's just put me in such a beautiful, loving space with myself. Like, I'm the the morning, I'm like, man, I really love myself.
Yeah.
That's okay to feel that way as well, because we're
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for holding space for me while I shared that, because I just, oof.
I so want to honor and affirm that share, and just to point out to people that what you just offered us, that vulnerability, in all honesty, could you have said that out loud even 6 months ago to someone privately in a room? Right? Like, you just offered your story, which could have been told in a multitude of ways, and you told it with neutrality. Like, you just shared some of the deepest trauma of your human life in this particular lifetime, and it no longer holds that weight of shame or blame or destructiveness for your soul.
Yes, correct.
And that's powerful.
Freedom.
It's freedom. Yeah, complete freedom. And that's what I have witnessed in you. That's what I've witnessed in Kayleigh. I witnessed in myself. Like, we're actively, and I also want to point out to all of you watching, like, just recognize we're humans too, right? Like, we're on this journey with you. And so we're stepping into this as your guides. We're a few steps further along the path. Maybe we've been doing this longer. We have different gifts, but we're here with you. We're human beings doing this work together, and it gets to be messy, and it gets to be heavy, and it gets to be light. It gets to be all of these things, and we get to heal together and keep making these circles of women who vibe with one another and know each other and trust each other and take that out into the world. Like, that is also liberation for our people, not just for ourselves, when we start to live it out on the streets, right? And it begins all by trusting ourselves, just really trusting ourselves. Whew.
I love the way you word stuff.
I know, it's so magical.
I just sit, I'm like, tell me more.
You're so cute.
It's so great. I just love how different we are too.
Oh yeah, it's such a beautiful triad that we have going on here, because we all have such different and unique skills.
They were necessary.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think something that I really love that we're doing too is each person gets assigned their own healer. So we're accepting 6. We felt like that was a good number. So and we may expand more, a few more if that feels right. We're kind of like leaning, we're over, you know, we set it, and then we go, oh, does that still feel right? So it could be up to 9. And so each healer will have no more than 3 women as like your direct lifeline to witness what you're going through. And for me, I love being able to just know that that's something that we offer. It's very, I mean, these are intimate things, right? So to have that knowing, which is so great. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Really appreciate it as we begin to expand on this beautiful work.
It's funny because like Sarah's just said there, I want to not stumble when I speak of my stories like I'm wrong. And that was a big thing for me, was having my lived experience invalidated along my path by various sources. I had a gender journey that was, oh, don't be silly, you'll get there, rather than helping me navigate that time. And that's a lot of it. We're gaslit by ourselves. We're gaslit by society. We're gaslit by the village that's supposed to support us. And it's not that they've done it maliciously. It's just they've done the best they can. But there is inevitably some damage that's done along the way. I mean, I'm pretty sure in about 20 years, my kids are going to tell me what I did wrong this time round. So there is things that just because something happened to you doesn't mean that it was done by malicious or other way. It could have been, but it's just acknowledging that something happened to you and what that means and getting to the root. And for me, it was very much trusting, it was kind of an extension of when I learned tarot, trusting that my truth is my truth. And now when I'm told, if I feel ill and it's like, oh, well, it's this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't invalidate the fact that I feel ill right now. That doesn't, you can say it was caused by this or this, but this is how I feel right now. And it's kind of owning and having the safe space to, first of all, speak up. But secondly, the most beautiful thing that I found with this journey was, especially as a Brit, is to allow yourself to open up and be vulnerable with people, to show that part of yourself that you really don't want to show to the world, because we're told, like, keep calm and carry on in our country. That was literally a poster. So it's kind of stiff upper lip and let's get on with it. And really, it's been, for me, it's the biggest thing was trusting people. First of all, that they won't go and share what I'm doing, what I'm saying everywhere, which would never happen in this container. That is part of the container, that it's sacred and nothing comes from outside of it. And also that, again, I was very similar to Allison. I don't trust women. I've not trusted women. I always gravitated towards men, boys along the way, because men tend to just tell you what it is, whether you want to hear it or not. They will just tell you. Whereas women, I think we don't want to upset people. We are trained to be people pleasers, and so we don't tell the entire truth. And because we're so intuitive, you read between the lines and something's off. And so it was really nice to have that safe space where nobody told me what to do, but they just listened while I navigated what I was feeling and kind of gathered my own bearings so that I could navigate forward which way to go from there. And for me, that was a huge experience to do that. And it's actually deepened relationships that I have with myself and with other people. So yeah, just being self-validating, non-judgmental, and the allowance to be vulnerable and to lean into how I'm feeling, that it's okay to feel sad, devastated, terrified, scared, broken, and that my lived experience is true. That is my truth, and that's what I have to navigate from, not what somebody tells me it was or anything. So that it was incredibly empowering on that front for me to do that.
Thank you for sharing that, Kayleigh. I really, and correct me if this isn't true, but what I'm hearing in your language is that you really benefited from the power of witnessing without being shamed.
Yeah, that was huge for me, because speaking up about feelings before I've been told, oh no, don't be silly, or which is the British way. It's not that anybody was doing that, was come from a place of love, like, oh, it's okay, everything will be okay kind of energy. But saying everything will be okay is that toxic positivity that doesn't really help anyone in that situation. So it will work out fine in the end, but how are we going to navigate this time now? And that's, so yeah, witnessing and verifying rather than validating my experience was important for me. That's what I found as a benefit.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I feel like we just don't get that a lot in our culture nowadays. Like, we all try to put on this really perfect, pretty face and, oh, we're fine. And then if we do talk about stuff, we're actually trauma bonding and just complaining about work or complaining about how busy we are, how there's never enough time, all the things, instead of actually being honest. Like when someone says, how are you? And being like, actually, I'm really sad today and I don't know why, or whatever the truth is of the moment. We're pretty dishonest with one another socially.
Which is another reason I'm loving this so much and coming together and doing this, because collectively it helps all of us relearn the language of love and truth. And how, and I've seen in my own life, just going through and you know, speaking my truth, you know, even like a great example is I actually, for the first time, so for those of you who don't know, I worked in the restaurant industry for, like, I don't know, most of my life. And I've never said anything, even if the meal was horrible or something. And I went to a place that we were at we go all the time. And we got our same appetizer that we love, that we share. And they came and asked, they're like, how was it? And I was like, actually, it really wasn't that great this time. And I thought the owner was going to cry with joy. She was like, you're being honest. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I eat this a lot. But I just want you to know, like, it really wasn't, and for a moment, I almost apologized. I almost said, I'm so sorry for speaking my truth. I said, thank you. Instead, through this process, I was able to say, thank you so much for holding the space for me to speak my truth. And she just looked at me, she goes, I just love the way you said that. And she goes, I'm going to say that from now on. She's like, what a concept to stop us apologizing, to speaking my truth of how things are. Of course, things can't be perfect all the time. Right. And I thought, oh man.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do that before this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't allow myself to do that. Right. So there's that reprogramming, the relearning of my own language.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, that's so potent. It's so powerful when we re-language things for ourselves and then we pass it on and amplify that to the people around us. Like, this is how we create a movement. This is how we really change society. It's in that microcosm. It's within, and then it gets shared because it's contagious.
Yeah, it really is. And, there's just so much about this particular work that just speaks to me as a movement. Like, I love envisioning, like, so many people healing, so many women being like, and what happens. Like, I love to dreamweave that, like, speaking to our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, our friends, our aunts, all the women in our life, and what happens when we say yes to ourselves, and we say yes to co-creating our best selves, our most, loved, joy, juicy selves.
I found it's changed the way I speak to the men as well. Like, I come from a much more centered space, for want of a better description. And by being able to explain how I feel in that moment. So instead of going, you're doing this to hurt me, or you're doing this upsetting me this way, it's when you do this, I feel this. And having that way to say, well, the root is this. If you can change this, that would be really helpful. So it's kind of changing the way that I'm responding to everybody. And actually some relationships that were part of my trigger have actually improved as a part of it, because it's knowing that it's just empowering you. So instead of going into a conversation feeling like you're the inferior of the two, it's no, we're equals. And I'm saying this, and this is valid. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But this is my truth, and telling me that it's otherwise is not the case. So, and yeah, just understanding, because I'm in a less reactive space, it kind of gives me a moment to sit and reflect on their point of view as well, to offer them that without them necessarily taking it up, but to respond, appreciating their position. That doesn't define what happens as the outcome, but I appreciate their position as I'm moving forward. So yeah, and I found that those triggering relationships have actually evolved as a result of this. So whether that's because I'm in a different place but yeah, it's had an effect, especially in my partnership with my husband. So that's evolved as well. So yeah, recognizing my value and my worth within our relationship. Because everything's kind of material in the world, and if you earn less, you feel inferior. But recognizing that I bring value in a different way to be the equal in the relationship, that's been very different as well. And honoring that.
I love that you brought in the home dynamics and our intimate relationships, and how when we step into our power, it invites those around us to step into their own power. And so there's not this power dynamic of who's in charge. It's just we all get to be in our sovereign space. And that feels like what my journey has been about. I know you mentioned earlier that mine was more empowering the first shadow round than yours was a bit more shattering. And because I've been doing this work for about a decade now. And yet still, I was shifted and changed from this program. For myself, it was coming to terms with the shifting of my relationship with my children. I'm now heading into my late 40s. My kids are adults and leaving the house, and recognizing how much of my ego had been built up around this idea of mother, and like really reclaiming, well, who the fuck am I actually? Like, that was just a thing that I did. These are just relationships that I have, really important relationships. But it's amazing how the monkey mind, especially for female-bodied persons, we get woven into this cultural story that our importance is really related either to our mothering or our sexuality. And those were the two that really came up for me. Like, who am I if I take these two pieces out of my life? What is this core essence that actually remains and has been here with me the entire time that I was birthed with, right? Like, getting down to this essential core nature of myself and recognizing that it's here and it's whole and it's precious and it is exactly right, regardless of whom I am in relationship to. Like, it has nothing to do with any of these other people. It's I am as I am, irregardless. And that has been so profound and has completely changed the way that I show up. I have 6 more months with my son in my home, and like just allowing myself to let go of certain responsibilities, let go of needing to micromanage the relationship or even cook dinner every night, just really giving myself freedom as these relationships grow and mature and change, without the guilt and without the shame and without the frustration on both sides, because I was attempting to mother this person that doesn't need mothering anymore, right? So that's been my journey through this, really helping me transition into the matriarch archetype in my personal life and owning it with ferocity and claiming space and taking my time back. And as I look back and think about it, oh gosh, how powerful this would have been to do in my 20s or my 30s, and like own myself so fully. It's a valid journey wherever you are on the age spectrum, but it's open and available to whomever is listening to us, who's feeling the pulse, who's like, I am ready to own myself. That's what this journey is all about.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I love the words let go without shame or guilt. I love that.
Yeah. It's all about that languaging, right? Like, I wrote an email a couple of days ago because I made a mistake and I missed the timing of a session. And instead of being like, I'm so sorry, I was like, thank you for the grace and allowing my humanness, right? Like, releasing ourselves from that patriarchal, white supremacist culture that says you got to do it exactly right or you're a failure.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. Like, we're all messy humans doing our very best. And those positive affirmations and self-talk, they start here before we can offer that to the people around us.
Yes, exactly. Good. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, so as you can see, we've all had our very own unique experiences, but the overall song, if you will, is we're doing it. Healing. It's amazing. I'm just going to peek over it. Simon wrote in the comments, I'm now in a place where I can begin measuring myself a new ruler and not the old 9-to-5 shirt and tie ruler. I love that. Such a great way to describe.
I don't even have a ruler now. I just am.
Right? So for those of you who are feeling the call, we have it's all about just diving in, fill out the application. If you're, you know, maybe anything's possible. We're offering all kinds of payment options. You can find out more about it at SaiYunaste.com/WOTW. You can also, of course, go right to Women of the Wyrd Facebook page and messages us there, and we can answer questions. I'm more than happy to set up a time if there's something that you want to discuss, like 20 or 30 minutes, if there's just some things that you want to just speak about, because I know in my own role, being a talker, like I love to talk about it, and as opposed to writing. Writing is hard for me. It takes longer. It's easy for me to express it. It's really great when I have a Wyld sitting next to me and then she interprets what I say, and I'm like, yeah, that in 3 sentences is amazing. How'd you do that? So great. So just having the opportunity to connect in any way, I know I'm open to that as well, of course. Our container opens on February 19th, so we have just a little under a month. You know, we've got the Facebook private Facebook group ready to go. So as people are coming in, we're going to officially kind of open that invite on the 29th, just for that. So please, if you're feeling it.
I know someone posted in here they would like to know where to go fill out the application. Can we drop a link to that once we're complete, so you can come back and just hit a link so you can get that? And then does anyone have any questions right now while we're here? Now that you've gotten the full download, you've heard our stories.
They all get journal prompts as well. You get a PDF with journal prompts for each gateway that you go through as well, so you can help navigate while you're in your own space, your own sacred space, on your own, in your own time when you're with yourself. You can journal and help delve through what's coming up and how to navigate that. And we have these sharing circles in between each of the sessions. So each gateway has a ceremony, and then you have your session, and then you have your sharing circle, and then we move into the next gateway. So each part has this section and support built into each of the 3 parts. Then we get to celebrate it all at the end, how much we've grown at the end with the closing ceremony. So I'm excited and so ready to start doing this. It's amazing.
It's going to be magical work, and the women who say yes and move through this together, you're going to create your own circle of women together. It's just what happens. You will know one another. You're going to be seen, heard, held, fully witnessed, fully supported. And these will be relationships that you will carry with you for the remainder of this lifetime. It is just so profound what occurs when you fully and honestly just allow yourself to be messy and majestic at the same time. It just is. And if you feel any inkling of a yes in your heart space, please fill out the application. We intend to run this at least twice a year. You can always jump on a wait list for a later version. Allison mentioned that we offer payment plans. We do offer 1 scholarship per round. So if that's needed for you, don't hesitate to reach out and have a conversation with us. We are all about the healing and getting it out to the world as efficiently and gracefully as possible. So follow that heart space. If you hear a yes, just fill out an application, get the conversation started, and trust yourself. Trust that yes, it really holds something for you.
Yeah.
And for a good time. For a good time. I gotta throw that party
overall.
Yeah.
There are going to be times where you feel, oh, this is such hard work, but you have the Voxer support, you have the peer support, you have the group support, you have ways to connect with people to just. The best thing I found was decompression. It was decompressing when in that moment, nobody even had to answer me. Sometimes it was just decompressing into a walkie-talkie app. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, it stops at 15 minutes, telling the story all over again. It does. You don't have to. If you get to 15 minutes is the limit. I found the limit. And then just allowing And I even at the end, I go, you don't need to respond to this. I'm just putting it out there for it to be witnessed, and accountability for myself, really, that yes, that it's self-validating, just putting it out there. And also, I'm going to do this now. There's that accountability. I'm putting that out there, and then I will do this part of my work. If I don't, nobody's judging me for not doing it, because it's my journey and one foot in front of the other. I just have someone walking the path with me. So.
And we have little treats along the way too. There's little things that little tidbits and treats and gifts and all kinds of goodies that will be cultivated specifically for these circles in the series, because we honor that connection and the from where I come from, the reminder to the brain that, hey, we did this thing. We did this thing. We did this thing. And just being able to go back to that moment, that moment of now.
And to take up space.
Yeah.
Unapologetically.
There are just so many of us that live our lives in these small little ways, trying not to step on other people's toes or feeling like we're walking on eggshells, just so obsessed with everyone else's feelings and not giving ourselves the time and space to actually have a full lived experience. And one of the things that has felt the most valuable to me is just saying, I'm worth it. I'm worth taking up space. I'm worth setting aside a couple of hours every single week for 3 months to do this healing work for myself. And it's for no one else but me. Like, I'm claiming that space. How many of us have ever actually done that for ourselves? I mean, we occasionally get the spa day. We have this Hollywood story of what women do when they need to pamper themselves. But this is so much more than going to get your nails done. This is so much more than having a coffee clatter with 3 girlfriends where you're just complaining about your husbands. This is like the actual soul level work that is available for you on a quantum level to up level your life and how you experience it on a daily basis. It's really unlike anything I've seen out there.
Yep.
I felt like it was a reclaiming of me and who I feel I am in my core. Don't get me wrong, I've still got loads of work to do, but I did come out birthing like, do you know what? The Kayleigh that is in here, I actually like her, and she's all right. She's just doing what she does. She's just a human like everybody else on the planet.
Love that. Yeah.
Feeling it. So let us know. You can ask questions right now. Of course, if you're feeling more private, please PM us on the Women of the Wyrd, SaiYunaste.com, WOTW. You can read more about there. The links actually for the application to learn more are right on pinned at the top of the Women of the Wyrd page too. And I will go ahead and put them in all the comments where we're streaming, so everyone has easier access to that. Kind of feeling like I'm feeling full.
Yep.
So if we have no questions or anything, I know that was a lot of information taken. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you. And if you feel a connection to either the 3 of us and you want to send a private message, we're all available to support, to answer any questions, to give any connection, whatever is there bubbling up and alive. We are here for it, and doors are opening soon.
Yeah, excited.
Beautiful.
Kayleigh, do you have any final words, Kayleigh?
I'm done. No, yeah. I do that.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna end the broadcast, and we will catch you later. So excited to connect. See you soon.